Okay, we're going to continue on today for Wednesday's class. We're going to start looking at some other ways to do three-dimensional modeling, and then we're going to start a project before we finish today. So let me just clean up some of the junk here. I'll take out some of these things that I don't need anymore. Some of these expanded pieces. We'll leave a few of these on just so I can show you some. And we'll put this into an isometric mode, and get rid of a couple other items. Okay. Yeah, I'll leave the egg there for now. So the next thing I want to talk about under solids modeling is the ability to manipulate some of these items. And you'll notice that when I bring up this solids modeling toolbox, I also have some two-dimensional drawing tools that come up with it. For instance, let's place a circle, and I'll place it right on the face of this. So again, left and right, whoops, hit the right button here, hit a tentative point and hit O, and I have to hit F for front. See how that rotated my compass? I'm going to move straight up. Don't be afraid to go beyond the edge. Hit enter. Oops, messed it up. Hit O, hit enter, lock it right there to the center point. And what I want to do is just place a small circle here. Doesn't even have to be on the face. I'm not sure why that. I hate it when things don't work the way I want them to. Oh, I know what's happening. This thing, I thought it had the isometric. Let me just do a quick smart line. Nope, it's not locked. Make sure we're in isometric. Yep. Sorry about that. My computers. I'll try S. Doesn't seem to want to offset for me. I'll zoom in on it. All I want to do, maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it. I'll try it from this side. Hit F, enter. There we go. So I'll just put a little circle here. It's 0.16 radius. And if we actually take a look at this in illustration with shadows, you'll see that it's just a circle, so it doesn't even show up on the edge of it. We'll go back to our transparent, or go to transparent. You can actually see that two-dimensional circle is setting there. And what we're going to do is under this T menu down here, you can see there's a cut solid by curves. Well, it's cut solid by curves or shapes or lines or whatever. If I just left click on this, it says I can cut in both directions, and I can cut all the way through. I can either split the solid so it leaves both pieces. I can keep the profile if I want. In this case, I just want to drop a hole through this, so I just left click on the shape, then left click on the circle, and you'll see these arrows come up, and it says, is this direction okay? And I know it's in both directions, so I just left click and let it drill that hole through. So if I come back and look at this in illustration mode and we rotate this around, you can see we can drill a hole through this solid. So that, that works pretty good. And you can do this with any shape that you want. If I were to just come over here and just draw a shape, hopefully let's go to front view. So it's on the plane. Make sure it's on the plane. And then we'll do a cut solid. Let me rotate it to an isometric again. And again, we'll cut this solid using this to this. And if I rotate this, you'll see that it cut that shape all the way through. Now, if I Control Z this, and let's say I only wanted to cut that in 1/4 of an inch. I'm not sure what the scale is, but I can say, rather than through, I want to define the depth. And I want my cut depth to be 0.25 inches. And I left click on this, and left click here. And you'll see what that does is it only cuts into it 1/4 of an inch. So it doesn't go all the way through the object. Again, it's just any of these things you can use. Draw on solid is another tool that you can use to draw on solids. You can close the element, you can imprint these curves on here. If I actually take this off and look at it as a wireframe, it didn't actually go on there. I'll have to work on that one. Oh well, if I actually drew on this solid, now you'll notice I can take in and I think I can pull this out. See, there's another. Hit T. Yeah, you can see what I can do is grab the edge of this and actually stretch it. And I don't use this too much, but it's just a feature that you can put on there to kind of add some more manipulation to your solids modeling. And we may play around with that. I got to get a little better at it myself before we actually do that. But you can actually grab edges and faces, pull them up, pull them over, and just really mess with these shapes all together. So those are a few things. Again, we can Boolean. We can Boolean solids together. If I look at this one, for instance, and I want to Boolean this solid to this shape, they all become one. Unfortunately, I've got some material on that one that's making it hard to see, but if we pull it around, you can see that that's all one shape now. So that's all fine and good. So that's solids, and that's manipulating them and using some of these Boolean operations to put edges on them. We can round off the edges of some of these objects, different directions. All really easy to work with. Now let's talk about just drawing a shape. Let's draw a rectangle on the ground. I'm just going to draw this in at any size. It's just a two-dimensional rectangle. Under the tool R, there's an extrusion tool. So we can extrude this object straight up just like a solid. Just like drawing a solid, but you can do it from a 2D element. Now we can also, if I pull that back down, I can scale it by a factor of 0.5. So as we extrude it, it scales it. We can spin it. Let's spin it 90 degrees. So it's going to twist this. If we pull it up, you'll see it not only extrudes it to 0.5 or half its size, but it turns it 90 degrees. Try the same thing. Let's try 180 degrees. Let's really put a twist in its undies here. Pull that one up and you'll see that it actually twists right around. So when we look at this, it actually gives it a really twisted view. Let's try it at 120. And that's off to the side. This would be in the center. So we can pull that right straight up. And if you actually look at this as just a smooth rendered shadow, you get quite an impressive looking piece that somebody would say, wow, how'd you do that? Let's do it again. Let's try 360. Let's do a 360 with this and see what happens. Looks like 360 doesn't like us. 720. Nope. So apparently it's limited as to what we can do with the rotation of those twists. Now the other thing we can do, if you look at the next tool, is solid by revolution. Let's rotate this one 180 degrees, same square. This time we'll grab this, it says select profile face, define axis of revolution. So I'm going to left click over here, and you'll notice now as I move my mouse around, you can really get freaky. So we can roll it this way, we can roll it 45 degrees, we can roll it out this way, or we can twist it in this direction. Now if I just left click right there, we get some really freaky looking stuff. Not sure I really wanted to go that far. Whoops, I want to go center, edge. Not sure why it's going all the way, but somehow it's twisting it 180 degrees, so I'd have to play around with that a little bit. Back to the flat, we can extrude along a path. So if I were to draw, let's just draw a smart line right from the center point, and I'll have to hit F to rotate this up. And we'll just pull this up a little ways, and then I'll hit my tilde key, and we'll put an arc on here, and then we'll hit tilde and draw it out. So can I extrude along that path? I want alignment is normal, so it says select element for path. Well, it's going to be this block. And it says select profile. Whoops, did I hit the wrong thing? Select element for path, that's the line. And I actually want this to be a line string, so I'm going to put this together, the 3 line segments together. That's what I want it to follow. Now we'll go back to our extrude along path, and we say I want it to follow this path. You can see the arrows pointing which way it's going to go. This is the profile, and when I do that, it actually extrudes that to a solid path. So imagine this as a piece of sheet metal, something like that, where you're getting a profile of a piece of ductwork a certain size to follow a path, and you want to see what that's going to look like. Well, if we change that to a model, what's it going to look like if we flatten it out? There's our profile as we kind of unwrap it. So it's basically just a bend with 2 sides on it. So that's kind of cool. We'll back it up here again. And what else do we have? We have solid by thickening the face. I can just grab this and say I want to thicken this to this amount. So it's just taking a surface and thickening it to a solid. And this last one is linear solid, where we can take, I've never used this one to tell you the truth, but let me just draw a line. Check this tool. It says select start vertex, select second vertex, select third vertex. Well, a little work. I could probably figure out a use for that, but at this point we won't mess with it too much. And there are just a ton of things that we can do with this, and as we move along the semester, I'm going to continue to try to explore those and help you find ways to utilize those things later on. Now, for today's assignment, we're going to start working on a model that was actually our practice exercise for the midterm, and it is this object. Now, I've printed the drawing out, so I have it here. I'm not going to have to refer back to it too much, and you can certainly get a print. We're going to be working on this in class. If you do have a print of it, it's good, but I'm going to kind of work through the dimensions. So I can see, first of all, we've got a base unit that is 1.3 inches by 1.3 inches, and it's 0.29 inches tall. So let's start with that. Going back to and let's do this. Let's say File, Select All, Edit, Select All, sorry. Edit, Select All, and hit your Delete key. And let's look at our levels. We want to be working in our primary level for our model. This is going to be our primary 3D location. And I want to be in an isometric view. And I'll work in white. I'm going to go to line weight 2 so it shows up better. And let's just look at that slab. Let's start with this slab on the bottom. So it's going to be left click. And we know that it is, let's hit T for top. We'll go 1.3, left click. Pull the width 1.3, left click, and we're going to put a height in here of 0.29. And let me change this to illustration so we can see the lines on it. So this is the base of our object. Now let's go ahead and start making some of the cuts that we need to on this. We know that this has radiuses around the edge of 0.18. So we're going to go to our fillet tool, fillet edges. We put our radius in at 0.18. We left click on this edge. Make sure it highlights the edge that highlights in yellow. Left click. We left click on this edge. We left click on this edge. And you can see I can even left click on the back without rotating it if I'm careful. So there's our base plate. Really easy. On the edges of this, we have 2.19 radiuses. So we take a circle, just like we drew it in 2D, find the center point, and we're going to key in a radius of 0.19. We'll do the same thing on this side. Remember the indexing, it remembers that 0.19, so I can just go like this. And one of the tools that we just used was cut solid by curves. We want to cut all the way through in both directions. It doesn't really matter. Left click on our solid, left click on our profile. I can hold control key down and left, well, I could do this. Well, let's do this one first. Okay, that cuts it through. I'm going to do a control C to undo that, because if I do the same thing, left click on this and then hold down my control key, I can select a second object or a third or fourth and left click and do multiple cuts at the same time. So when we rotate this piece around, this is what we're getting for our base unit, right? You also notice when I'm rotating this, see this arrow? If I want to move that, that's my center point for spinning it. If I just take my cursor and put it right on there, and I can move that to a location so it spins from the center of the object. So if it's spinning kind of off to the side, just move your center point for rotation. We'll rotate it back to an isometric. And let's think about our cylinder. We've actually got a cylinder in the center of this. The diameter of the cylinder is 0.82 inches diameter. So it's a 0.41 radius. Let's see if we can find a center point on here. Let's grab our cylinder tool, cylinder solid, and I'm going to say spacebar C. Looks like it's picking up the top. Spacebar C. Yeah, that's not well, I'm going to hit my tentative, hit O, hit enter, and just find that center point. So now, just using the enter and solid, it puts me up on the top of this object. And again, 0.41 is the radius, and we pull the height up. The height on this is 0.95 inches. 0.95, left click. So now we're looking at rotating this. We've got an object that's one piece. Now, should we Boolean this piece together? Yeah, well, it can't hurt. Let's go to Boolean, unite solids. So we're going to unite this piece to this piece, and now they're all one. You can see when you select it, the whole thing highlights. So along with this, on these two sides, we have a couple of angle brackets. So what I'm going to do is draw this as a shape. And these are from this center point right here, and I'm going to hit F for front. See how it rotates my compass up? And I'm going to go in a distance of 0.25. We're going to go up a distance of, make sure you're on, and it's up 0.55 inches. And then just come back down and connect to the original point. So it's just a two-dimensional shape. It's centered on that piece, and the thickness is 0.15. So I want to move this half of 0.15 either this way or this way. So I'm going to take my move tool. I'm going to grab this edge, hit T for top so it rotates my compass, and I'm just going to move this 0.15 divided by 2, or 0.08. Now let's extrude this using our R1 tool, Extrude. I want to take these things that we did crazy before because it remembered them. So we're going to scale or extrude this full scale. Just grab this edge and pull it in this direction You can pull it way out here if you want, because it's only going to listen to what you command. 0.15. Okay? If we roll this up as a front view, we can take this wedge on this side and see how, just like when we drew it, it actually wraps around that side. So when we look at this piece, see how that gets a little curve to it? Because it's right up into that solid. Rotate it back to a front view. Now, I don't want that buried in there because it might be a separate piece. Is there a way that we can subtract that from this piece? So if we say find the difference, keep last between this piece and this piece, it doesn't look like anything happened, but I think if we look at it in wireframe now and rotate it up to a top view, you'll see that this has actually cut that curve out by taking the difference from this cylinder and leaving the last piece in there. It doesn't actually cut that out of that cylinder. It actually made that construction for us. So we'll rotate it back down, make it a illustration with shadows, and now we're going to use this 3-5 tool, our mirror tool. We're going to be going on this vertical axis, so we change it to mirror against vertical and make copy. Left click on the object, and see how my compass is flat? We want to rotate this up, so just hit F. Bring it over here, find this center point on the cylinder, and it will mirror that exactly to the other side. I mean, this is just way too easy right now, right? We've almost got this whole shape done. So what we're going to do now is take our circle tool, and we're going to drill a hole all the way through this piece because it's all one piece anyway. So if I come right up here on the top, now see how my cursor's the wrong way? Hit T for top, rotate it down, and we're going to drill our small hole first, and that small hole has a radius of 0.19. So we key in 0.19. And what we're going to do is drill all the way through this. Select your, and that's why Boolean these two things together was a good idea, so it'll go all the way to the bottom. Select your cut solid tool. We left click on that shape. We left click on this circle. Left click again. And then left click one more time. And when we rotate this up, we'll be able to look through the object. Okay? Let's rotate it down to an isometric. So we're all kind of looking at it. Now, we've got a counter bore in here that's 0.38 inches deep, has a 0.27 radius. So we're going to take our circle tool. Again, we'll find this top center, bring it out, and key in the radius of 0.27. And then let's cut it again. This time we don't want to cut all the way through. We're only going to cut down a certain depth. So we're going to say define depth. And the depth that we want to cut this to is 0.38 inches. Left click on the solid, left click on the circle, left click again, and then one more to reset it. You just keep left clicking, and if you look down in here, we have this recess now. And let's change it to kind of a transparent with shadows. We can actually rotate this around and see down inside it, just like our model. If I rotate this to a front view, there's all of the things that we were looking at in those two-dimensional drawings. And the next thing we're going to learn now that we have this in place is how to extract those images from this model to be able to put them into our sheet file. And that's going to require, first of all, creating some new levels, 2D levels, and we're going to call them 2D levels. Even though they're still going to be 3D, we're going to call them 2D levels. So go to your level manager, and we're going to right click and say new. And the first one is going to be 2D top view. Right click. Another one is going to be 2D front view. Right click, new. And this one is 2D right side view. Okay. So let's start with our top view. We're going to rotate this to a top view and do a fit view on it. And what we want to do is say File, Export. I haven't done this for a while. Visible edges, way down here towards the bottom. We want view 1. The boundary is the view. Medium accuracy is fine. Export to active file. Okay. Do we want to include hidden edges? Don't think we need to on this particular view. Excuse me, so we'll leave that out for now. Everything else looks good. Symbology. Visible edge. We want the level to go into 2D top. And I want the color of my visible lines to be green, the style to be 0. And if we were including hidden edges, we'd set those up over here into other levels or different line styles. Now let's take a look at a preview. We're going to preview this, and it's actually going to process it, and it's going to show us on this screen our two-dimensional image. If we say, yeah, that looks good, just say export. And it's done. Now, I want you to go to your level display, double click on 2D top view, and turn off everything else. And what you're left with is this two-dimensional drawing of the top view of your 3D object. Okay? Turn it back on, turn everything back on. Oops. Oh, that's my level. I'm on my level display. There we go. Sorry. So let's take a look at this top view now. It's still a 3D model, and we're going to go to our sheet file. 8.5 by 11. And we got this nice stuff. So we want to put our top view right in this area. We're going to go to Reference. We'll take this default model off from here. And we want to attach our... My computer's going slow. Hopefully my hard drive's not kicking out on me. Yep, there we go. Saw something flash. So we'll go to our My Computer, Projects, Project 8 3D, Open. I'm using my 3D model primitive, standard view top, and notice when I drop this down now, instead of just having a top view, we got top, front, right, isometric, bottom, back, left, and we've also got saved views and fenced views, all kinds of crazy stuff. In this case, we just want our top view. We'll go, I think we're able to go full size on that, 1:1. We hit OK. We get this box. I'm just going to place it right here. And you'll notice it's kind of confusing looking. Matter of fact, let's make that bigger. Scale 2:1. There we go. And we'll push it down into this area. That looks pretty good, but, and I'll take this text and copy it up so we can change that to front view or top view eventually. But what we have to do now is go to our level display. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it better. And we look at our 3D model top view that's attached right here. These are our two reference files, our title block and our 3D model. With this top view, I want to turn off primary. I want to turn off title block. I want to turn off default. So all I'm left with is are the things in 2D top view. Okay? And when I get ready to dimension this, I dimension it just like, maybe not. Oh, you know, it's got line segments there. figure that part out. I don't know why it's showing up, but we can still dimension it just like we would a normal drawing. There we go. 1.3 inches in both directions. And it should be a circle instead of a line string. So I'm going to have to figure out why that's showing up that way. And we could put it on as a note and just say 0.41 radius and stick it on there, but I'd have to mess with it. So I'll figure that out for the next class. But anyway, so what we're left with is this 2D drawing. Now, when I place these dimensions on here, let's see if I did it. I'm going to go check my mechanical dimensions. Make sure everything is should be good. Somewhere I want to make that association turn on though, so I'm going to Tools, Dimensions, maybe I'll just reassociate them. Well, let's go back to this model, our 3D primitive model, and let's say for instance I go in here with a fence right about to here, and I want to stretch this by 0.5 inches. I'm going to use the stretch command. 0.5. And see how that stretched that out? Turn off the fence tool. So when we rotate this now, we see this object. Let's go see what it did to our sheet file. You can see that it automatically did that, and if I reassociate, which is reassociate dimensions, select dimension, and it says reassociation failed, so I'm going to have to again work on that. So I'd have to redimension this, but with association turned on, it would be able to dimension, automatically stretch the dimensions along with this. So I'll do a little research and figure that part of it out. And if I do a Control Z, you'll notice it keeps, even though I'm not in the model file, it'll still bring it back. So we're gonna get those things working. Now the next thing we want to do is do the front elevation and the right side elevation. And I think what we'll do is finish that up on Monday to turn it in for homework. So if you want to go ahead, you can try to figure it out. Again, it's rotating to the front view. We'll go back and I'll show you how to do it. I just won't reference it in right now, maybe how my time's doing. But I'm going to rotate this to a front view, do a fit view here, and we're going to do the same thing. File, Export, Visible Edges. And this time we want to include the hidden edges. The symbology says I want to put this into 2D front view, include the hidden edges, and I want those going into 2D front view. And I want the color of my hidden lines to be red and style 2. Preview it. I can see those things showing up here. Really aren't too many hidden lines, although those should be hidden in the center. Preview, yeah, we'll just say export. That's all done now. Close this out, come back to our sheet file, and this time we're going to bring in the front view. So I'm going to go Reference, Attach, same drawing, same model. This time we're going to say Front 1:1. Place it on the drawing. Oops, forgot to do the scale. 2:1. We're going to move it, line it up with this edge, and then move it down about here. Do a fit view, and we go to our level display, and we're going to turn off In other words, take this front view and you want to turn off everything but the things that are in the front view. That's weird because these should show up as hidden lines. So again, we got a couple issues we're going to have to deal with here, and I'll be able to fix them. I'm just not sure what. Maybe it's this reference. Maybe I got to be in wireframe. Let me see if I can fix this. I know I didn't delete everything. Just took it out for a second. Alright, I'm going to turn off. Oh, I bet I know what it is. Need to turn off that top view. Now let's see. File, Export, Visible Edges. We want it Symbology. Do a preview. That's better. And export. And what you'll notice now is if I go back to my 8.5 by 11 view, it automatically updated that new information. Turned off all the levels and brought in this information. And you'll notice, remember those slots lined up with the hole anyway, so that's why those show up as curved lines. There's some things I may want to change on this, like these curves where the radiuses start. I'd probably change those to a yellow line and a different style. And I could go back to my 3D primitive models, turn off everything but my front view, just like we did before, and you can just physically change these lines, the color and the line style, so that they're going to show up differently when we get back into the view. So these things will start to make more sense, and we'll push these titles down. So go ahead and try to get the side view. I should push this stuff up a little bit so it lines up across here, so we may have to manipulate things a little bit more before we start getting into dimensions. I will figure out those dimension issues on the radiuses and see what's going on there, and it may be some setting I have in my export file. Let me go take a look. File, Export. And I may actually have to do some reading on this, but it's worked before. Oh, come on. There we go. Let's see. Expand hatch. Don't see anything there. Symbology. Doesn't really say. It would be more to do with that top view anyway. So if I bring it to the top, that's actually what you see. And if we turn on the top view, turn off the front view. Oops, make that one active. And we look at this, try to figure out what this is. Somehow we'd want to make that from a line string to a circle. I'm not sure why that's making it a line string. So there's something in my settings I need to work on to get that straightened out. But play around with this. We got the model up. We've started doing some of the 2D. Monday we'll figure out our mysteries and get that straightened out and start putting these things together and get a system down where we can build these models, export them to 2D files, and do it quickly. So that's it for tonight. Thanks.